So we do
I have to
one
ask
question.
You know what the GOAT's number was? 23. And the thing about this podcast, REI Baddies, they also have 23 episodes in their first year. That tells you they are the GOAT of podcasting right now. They're filling the space between OGs in the business and brand newbies. They are absolutely killing it. And also, we need way more women investors that are doing podcasts. Why? Because right now, there's proof, scientific numbers that are telling us that more women are entering into the business of real estate investing and developing than ever before. Here's the thing. You got to go check out their podcast every Monday morning at 6 a.m. These guys are such baddies, that they drop an episode early in the morning because only early birds catch that worm.
What's up, Baddies Nation? Welcome back to another episode of REI Baddies. I'm Rachel Davis, Army veteran and real estate investor.
And I'm Kate Baldwin, your unicorn real estate agent based out of Key West and your connector for all things capital and real estate. And of course, your co-host of REI Baddies. This is the show where real estate gets real. We talk to real operators doing the real deals.
If you've ever thought to yourself, real estate and particularly the Pace Morby community feel a little crowded right now, this episode and our guest are going to give you a lane that you might not even have been thinking about before.
Yeah, we're talking about buying existing businesses and how Deirdre is building the system that matches real operators with real buyers, and she is stepping away from her Chief Solution Officer to the Board Advisor role this actual March, which is coming up any day now.
Love it.
Yay.
And like we said at REI Baddies, we're going to bring you real conversation with real operators. And we are so excited to have you today, Deirdre.
Like, so excited.
Thanks. Excited to be here.
You are so excited. Okay. Well, okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Today we are joined, and you can go ahead and finish off that, Rachel.
Oh, no, you're fine. So, Deirdre, welcome to REI Baddies. For someone who's meeting you for the first time, can you explain who you are and how you got into buying businesses in real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question. Who am I, right? All of a sudden I'm thinking my whole life is going through my head. I guess I would say that I'm someone who has always been passionate about business, and I've been passionate about people. I love creating, I love building, I love solving problems, helping people, making an impact, learning and growing together and collaborating. From a very early age, I would go to work with my mom at times, I would go to work with my dad at times, and I've just always been so passionate about business. And so my dad, when you ask how did I get started in business buying or business and real estate, well, my dad was an executive. He's retired now, but he was an executive that would go into companies that were losing money, and he'd turn them around to make a profit. So he'd improve their revenue growth. And so from a very young age, I got to watch like this magical person. You know, he's big on mindset, learning, growing, back when I was little. And so watching him, and he also invested in real estate like 40 years ago. So I learned by watching him. My mom, who's no longer with us, she was into poetry, antiques. She was a creative, very much, just so different than my dad. And so when I was growing up, I was an art major in high school, but then I pivoted and I went to college for business. And then I just went into a corporate role out of college because that was kind of expected. Right. Back then. That's what we were all doing, and we just tried to climb the ladder. So but I've always found like business as my canvas to use my creativity.
I love that.
I have not heard someone explain that. I love that.
Yeah, that's really cool. So
thanks.
What are we're just going to go right into this. Like, what do real estate investors misunderstand mostly about buying businesses?
Yeah, so especially with like Cody Sanchez,
Yes.
her popularity about buying businesses, there's more awareness of the silver tsunami. There's more awareness that there are a ton of baby boomers and others that are nearing retirement or in retirement, and they've grown these great businesses, and they haven't done any succession planning, right? They haven't, or they don't have anyone to pass their business to. And I think a lot of investors, they like the idea of the revenue that acquiring a business will give them, but they don't think about like, do I know anything about this business? Do I like business? Do I like people? Do you know what I mean? Like some of the basic questions. So I think that's what some investors miss.
I have a follow-on for this because Deidre, I've been fascinated by this. I know about how you call agents or distressed sellers. How does someone go about reaching out to someone who may or may not be interested in, like, how does your process work to see if someone's even interested in selling their business?
Yeah, so I mean, that's great. A great question too, because what I've done for the last like 15, 20 years is I help executives. I fall into my dad's footsteps. I help executives build high performance teams to improve their revenue growth, in large companies. So not small businesses under like 20 million, but large businesses that are 20 to 40 million, can't get to 100 million, companies in the billions, right? A bunch of different industries. And so I help sales teams with some of the basics. How do you build a relationship online? How do you brand yourself? How do you prospect? How do you actually have a conversation with someone where you're adding value,
Right.
and you're bringing a point of view to the conversation? You're not calling them to bother them. You're calling them to add value, or you're not calling them at all. Right? So I've taken some of that expertise and I've applied it to my own system. So first of all, I think being a customer of any business you're interested in buying is a great first step if you can, whether it's online or in person. It's a great first step.
I love that. It actually reminds me of Benjamin Wong and how he got the laundromat by being a customer when he was told by the broker no. Do you have any stories like that where you've had interesting interactions with a business?
Oh, I have a lot of stories. Yes, I have a lot of stories.
Give us one good one.
Give us a good one.
Okay, I think one that really just impressed me the most was visiting a florist.
I love it.
Just visiting a florist, and she had owned the business for 30 years.
Okay.
And she wanted to retire. And walking in as a customer, we just started having a conversation because no one else was in the shop, and she had time, and she was making floral arrangements, and I had time because I was there to kind of check out her business and be a customer. And she brought me back into this like magical backyard that was green, and it had plants everywhere, and it was in the middle of the city. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this woman lives in a land of just magical goodness.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was like so surprising, and our interaction. I mean, yes, I bought plants and flowers, but then yes, also helped someone become the new operator for that business.
With that said, I want to go off that because you say that you usually find the operator first, if I'm correct, right? So what are those like non-negotiable things that like you see or that you look for before you go and like ever invest in a property or in a business? Sorry, like the non-negotiables,
Yeah, so one of the non-negotiables I would say is there needs to be a culture match, especially if the retiring owners have employees, because the culture that person or team has built, that culture is so important. And many PE firms, they come in and they buy companies, they don't care about the culture, they're just, that's not what I do, right? I want to protect their legacy, honor them as founders and also take care of their customers and their employees. And that's all they want. Many times these businesses have, these owners have just run out of time. They're successful, they're generating cash flow, and they simply just need to retire because they've run out of time.
So sorry, I'm deviating from our script a little bit because this is, I think, a really interesting thing. Are you okay with that, Kate?
I already did it.
Okay. So we live in this entrepreneur community. You know, you and I are both a part of Owners Club, where it's like, I never want to work for someone again, like passive income. You're literally making people CEOs. So how has that been from like a mindset culture shift working with people in OC? How are you collaborating with them? Because I know obviously you and I are, but I'd love to know how that interaction and that mindset makes you different than other traditional entrepreneurs.
Yeah, well, everyone's different, right? There are some people in OC that absolutely want to buy fixed assets. They want to buy laundromats, right? They don't want to lead a team. But then there are others of us that have oftentimes been working a W-2 along with our investing, and we are working in leading teams of people in other roles. And we love that. And the idea of doing that for like one business where we have the majority of the ownership and we can control the culture and actually make it super successful and it's ours and we have that ownership is huge. So I just think knowing each person and getting to understand what their skills, their experience, their passion is, you know, what their personal core values are, and then matching it to the retiring owner's core values to some extent, that's going to create a win-win-win.
Yeah, because you mentioned that like you uplift, you basically set the pathway for the key employees of these of these certain businesses. Like, how do you decide who gets what in these businesses without blowing like morale, like without hurting people's feelings?
It's a great question too. So I was fortunate enough early on in my career to work under a chief marketing officer of at the time it was a $6 billion company, and she had a PhD.
No big deal.
She had a PhD in nuclear physics, came from McKinsey, and she led marketing. And working with her, I learned so much. And that company did 17 acquisitions. And then later in my career, I went to another company that acquired 31 companies. So I have that merger and acquisition background. I've taken the best of the Pace Morby creative finance, going direct to the sellers and the business owners, the best of my past experience and a little bit of what Cody Sanchez does, like some of her stuff, and have created my own system. So to address your question, I know how to affect culture in a positive way. Yeah. That's what improves revenue growth. Yep. And so when you're able to give people a bump up in their salary, they're thrilled. When you create a career path for them, because oftentimes the retiring owners didn't know how to do that, they just love what they do, and you give them some ownership too. Huge. And the sky's the limit because they're already great performers. Yeah. They're going to even be higher performers with some more incentives.
That's really awesome. Yeah, because you think about that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you mind walking people how you match, like how you play matchmaker with operators? Is that, I don't want you to give away like intellectual property, but like, if you're
happy
sharing
to.
It. Yeah.
Happy to. So the first thing I do is I have a core values assessment, and actually March 1st I'm going to make that as one of my free giveaways, where you can identify your personal core values. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about like why those are important. And then looking at each person's strengths, their experience, their skills, their resources, and what they're passionate about. For example, I had someone who was a great leader. She had been in corporate marketing for 15 years, but she always wanted to own a flower shop. right? She already had the marketing skills and could apply that to this smaller business and lead it. Like, so what I do is I understand like their Clifton strengths and talk to them and really understand like what lights them up, because you can see an energy shift when you're talking to someone about something that they're not passionate about versus something they're passionate about. Like, their whole countenance changes.
That's so
It
incredibly
is true,
accurate.
though. I mean, I think a lot of what you say and a lot of the other, I've listened to you speak is getting out of that W-2 and really finding that passion. And, I want to say I've been an entrepreneur since I was 20. I was telling Rachel this. I started with 10 chairs on the Key West beach as a wedding planner. And I built that business, but I lacked an operating skills. So I remember thinking, if I could just find me a Deirdre, my life would be great. I mean, I had the marketing, I had the personality, I had everything that you can, I knew how to, I even took over resorts, but the operating wasn't there. And the niche that you have created in this atmosphere is not only you're going to touch those 100 people, you're going to, that ripple effect. And hopefully you'll train more people to be you, because there's a lot of people, and I was a wedding planner for 15 years before I got into real estate, and even realtors were really passionate, good with people, but our operating skills, even, not taking over but I know just even you're sharing this and showing that this is there are people out there, you're doing this, you're helping businesses thrive. And I think it's on not on a larger $1 billion scale. You're gonna, you're talking about a florist, so I'm guessing that you're open to, smaller entrepreneurial businesses, mom and pop businesses as well, right? Are you still?
Yeah. So yes, absolutely. So all of the businesses that I'm looking at, they all cash flow a minimum of $250,000 a year, minimum. Yeah. Ideally, I'm looking at 500 or more per year. I try to stay under the PE radar. So I will do larger than 20 million because that's my sweet spot. Right. That's where I'm really good at it. But I do try to stay under that $20 million mark.
Are you doing any and this is kind of a sidebar just for those entrepreneurs that are out there that are listening to us right now and, are excited about what you're doing. Are you going to be actively giving I wouldn't say would you be doing classes, not classes, but sort of how to build your business, joining, are you going to coach anybody, or is this primarily strictly the business side of it?
No, that's a great question. I was planning on coming out of the gate doing both, building the $100 million portfolio and teaching people how to do it. Not doing that too much. And I had a really great friend who's going to be probably on my board as well, as a board advisor. He's like, no, here's the way to do it. He's
it's a lot.
Build the $100 million portfolio, then you'll have a natural stream of people who will be interested in doing the course, and the other people, learning more. So anyway, it's going to be two parts. The first part is I'm going to go build that. But yes, that is in the plan, and it's part 2.
I think you have so many amazing things to offer the world right now, and because a lot of people love the idea of being an entrepreneur and being a seasoned one. Your role is either being successful or not, and you will have a huge impact on that. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Business comes natural to me. What doesn't come natural to me is social media. I've been posting consistently every day since last July. So I'm going to March 1st start building in public, and that's a new level of exposure for me, and it's a new muscle that I don't have fully built, that I'll be building in public. So yeah, send me good vibes.
I got you. I'll send you good vibes.
Well, Deirdre, I love this too. I was literally talking to Birdie last night about how the best social media campaigns right now show 2 things. One, they're guerrilla. so they're not highly processed. And two, people love seeing people build something.
Yeah.
And you're literally showing
Do
that
that.
starting March 1st.
You don't even
I think
know.
that's so cool.
You. I think we get so caught up in content and having to, like, I've had conversations. I did brand development for folks, and my number one thing when I tell people about brand development is I can't be in your feet. I have to, you have to create the content. I can get it out there. I'll work with you on what to create, but ultimately it's you. I'm branding you. I mean, I could put a bunch of pictures up there and it's not going to be the same. So it does create some, yeah, but we don't have to get into that. But
Yeah.
sorry about that. That was like a little sidebar, but
Side note.
sidebar.
I have a follow-up question, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. So I've seen you say, I think you said it on Kathy Sonner's podcast, that you're doubling down on the other side of this. I'm interested, people say things a lot in the 30,000 foot thing. I want to know, because I'm struggling with this, how is your calendar changing from having like this role where you were the CSO to now when you're stepping down and do an advisory role and building this? What's your calendar look like to do that?
So fortunately, I have always been, for the last 10, 15 years, 100% time block. Dan Martell talks about buy back your time. Well, I've just been doing that. Like, to be successful at any level, for me, I had to learn how to do that. And so I follow my calendar. I book time to be spontaneous. Like, no joke, right? I literally quiet time, do this,
Listen to music.
Pretty much, but that's what happens. Like, I just do what's on my calendar. And so I'll see people book time on my calendar and then pop off my calendar and move to a different month, and I'm like, where did that person go? And I don't even call them. I just wait until they're back on my calendar again. It's weird, but I am so efficient at that. So moving a role where I'm heavily invested as one of 4 founding partners in this AI tech and consulting company, and I'm like 60 hours a week plus, right? That's minimum. Taking that and then being able to just build this portfolio of $100 million much faster. I'm just swapping. I'm just going to be as efficient and focused. So it's not like things are going to change. Where I spend my time is going to change.
Okay.
Can I change this up a little bit really quick? I want to, because I really think that I love the whole, I just want to get into how you structure for tax purposes, because I know that is kind of completely off the topic. I mean, it's not. I just think that when you're talking to a retired owner, you're explaining them how either getting paid out in a lump sum or versus seller finance or structure payoff, at a high level, how do you I mean, obviously the benefits of when you're going in and buying a business, when you're structuring the deal, what do you see, how do you, the feedback from the retired owners? Are they more a lump sale people? Do they want more of a seller finance? And how do you get around both?
Yeah, so here's a tip. The best businesses are not listed, they're found, okay? So a lot of people are spending time working with business brokers.
Right.
Nothing against business brokers, right. But when you go to Biz Buy Sell and a lot of sites, they have a lot of businesses that aren't scooped up right away. They're not the best. You know what I mean? You have to kind of weed through a lot of things. I don't even go there. Right. I don't spend any time there. When you find businesses based on the data, so you're looking at keeping with the florist example, sure. All the florists in a particular area that have been in business with the same founder, you can find all of this data, right?
Right.
And then you look demographically at the owners' ages. Right. You look on LinkedIn or on Facebook, right. Or wherever they are, and you get an idea of how old they are, one owner, two owners, like you kind of have to play a little bit of detective, right? So you go and find the businesses. In many cases, they haven't done succession planning.
Right.
They don't know that they don't know they can sell their business.
I know.
They haven't talked to a business broker. So they're not thinking, oh, my business should be valued at 4x or 7x or blah, blah, blah. These are people who have made a lot of money over their career. As I said, each of these businesses are cash flowing $250,000 a year minimum. They don't need the money. They actually don't even know they can sell their business in many cases. So I'm coming in and I'm saying, hey, have you thought about succession planning? You know, why did you start the business? I'm finding out like all about them and their business, their dreams, their goals. Do they have grandkids?
Right.
Things like that. What do they care about? And then when I tell them that we can create a structured payout so that the business continues to pay them, but they no longer have to operate the business, they're thrilled. They're like,
What?
oh my
They're
gosh.
like, how?
Right.
Has anyone ever told you they thought it was a scam? I'm just curious because this model's the same thing as
Yeah,
creative
so
finance for real estate.
60% of businesses, or probably maybe more than at least half of businesses, right? There's a few different stats out there, but businesses are typically sold by seller finance,
Yeah.
unlike real estate, right? So the idea of sub-2, seller finance, it's more known in businesses and in commercial real estate than it is in residential.
Got it.
Hold on, you just brought up something I didn't even like. You just blew my mind. You can sub to a business?
No, what I'm saying is the whole idea, right, of
Got it.
creative
Okay.
finance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no.
was like, wait a minute.
can't.
Is someone subdoing someone's like SBA loan?
No. I mean, some loans are assumable, but again, I'm targeting cash
Cash flow,
flow,
they already don't
positive,
much. They don't
Sorry.
borrow much.
one owner,
Yeah.
typically, right?
that
They're
brings-
like,
Yeah, so that brings me to like, okay, so when you're going into one of these businesses, I mean, what draws that line from being like a helpful like person or like to playing CPA? I mean, are you requiring the sellers to already have like the tax advisor or before their final terms?
the businesses that I look
Yeah.
at, they've got someone for their legal, they've got someone for their accounting, they've got a tax strategist.
Yeah.
These are very successful professionals. They're high performers. They're not people that are like, I need to sell my business because I'm struggling. It's not the struggle
it's
bus.
not.
These are successful
Well, no,
people.
but I can say that there are successful people that are successfully doing business, but that aren't operating well, that are still
That's true. Those aren't the ones I'm targeting.
perfect. That's
Those aren't the ones I'm spending any time
Got it.
with because
Well,
there are so many out there.
that are.
Why would you spend time like a business isn't great for fix and flip. I talked about my
mindset
dad.
around this. Sorry, I know I keep.
Right. No. I tried to, I was explaining how my dad would go in like and turn companies around
Yes.
and like, I know how to do that. I've done that very well. But there are so many businesses right now that are available for sale or that in that demographic where the people want to retire, but they don't want to lay off their employees and they don't know they can sell their business and they're going to close it down. They're just going to close it.
So that leads me to marketing. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rachel. You talk.
Oh no, we both have like I think questions. So I was gonna ask Deirdre how she uses operating agreements when she's doing this to make those sellers of that business feel more comfortable, because I've heard you, Deirdre, talk about how important that operating agreement is. Do you mind kind of using this as your soapbox?
Sure. Yeah. Huge fan of owning nothing and controlling everything. So everything is controlled through the operating agreement and the management agreement. And that's key. So in some of these cases, businesses that I've acquired, we've left the founders, in many cases, we leave the founder on the website. We leave a lot intact. In a couple of cases, we've given the founders, the retiring owners, 5% equity, right, in a rev share. they stay on to make sure that it's a great transition for whatever time that we deem. I put in a 30, 60, 90-day plan with the operators and the key employees. But it's you can literally write anything in the operating agreement. Anything. If you both agree to it, right?
I love this.
And that's how you
Go ahead.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, please. Finish.
I was just going to finish with this, and that's one of the ways that it's a tool that I think a lot of people don't realize they can use to help
Right.
both the buyer and the seller feel far more comfortable with that transition, is having ownership of that. So I really wanted to highlight that because I love that you talked
I
about
do,
that.
and I also think it's a really interesting for new entrepreneurs too, new people that are starting businesses and that are striving for success. Granted, we're talking about retirees, but that's like such another subject that you could embrace and just take off with. Like, what are the certain things that you should focus on, and what will get your business successful? And I just, you have such an endless amount of content and ability to help businesses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I've always been in a corporate role for 20 plus
Right.
years, but I've also been a founder and an entrepreneur. Like my whole life, from a little kid, I was 5 years old, coloring pictures in a coloring book with my friend, and we would take them door to door and sell them for $0.25. Like literally, who does that?
My kid,
I
he
thought,
does it with rocks when she was little. I'm like, no one's gonna buy your rocks.
okay, she's going to be an entrepreneur probably. So I've always had this entrepreneurial side, and I definitely have a lot of passion for the next generations coming up that they don't know what they want to do, especially in the AI era. They're super efficient and effective and have so many great skill sets. Part of what I'm doing where I can is taking these college and or high school grads that just want to work, because I was like that. I just wanted to work. I didn't want to go to college. And pairing them with experienced operators so that they can mentor one another, because you learn just as much.
You do.
And so that's part of it as well.
No, because that's interesting, because we're going into 8th grade and we both have kids the exact same age. And she wants to do the traditional.
We are not going into 8th grade. We
Yeah.
are turning 42 next month. Like,
No, but it's funny because we're talking about college and how college is definitely not the way, you go out of college with a 4-year degree. I'm like, Olivia, why don't you travel? Like, go do something, find your niche. Like, she's like, I want to go to FSU. And I'm like, okay. But I love that. I heard you say that about pairing up people and putting them in these entrepreneurial role, like with, these intern roles. That is huge. And that is so, because, a lot of kids get out of college and they're in debt. They don't really have anywhere to go because the job market's not the same. So that is so cool too. Wow, that's new. That's nice.
I have a question just about legacy. And I've been asking this to more and more people, because quite frankly, the Evers thing's cool and all, but like, that's 5 years. And to me, you don't get into entrepreneurship, particularly at the level you're performing at, Deirdre, without thinking to yourself at some point, like, what do I want my legacy to be? Like 30 years from now, what do I want people saying about what my impact was? Who are those people? So what drives you, what legacy drives you to keep going for more?
Yeah, gosh. So first of all, I love business and I'm passionate about business. Like, I'm just passionate about people and making people successful and leadership and personal growth and like all of that. So to be able to know that that's my strength, my passion, my skill set, and my expertise, and to affect other people's lives in a positive way, that's what I want my impact and my legacy to be. In this next 10 to 15 years, I'm fortunate. I've mentored hundreds of women in my career and hundreds of others, as well, but being able to do it at scale, like this is my full-time focus, where I'm just helping people and it's business related. So I want, my legacy to be, wow, she really created a different path for us at a time when there was a lot of uncertainty, where we thought colleges may be obsolete. We just didn't know what to do at a pivotal time when it was new technology shift with AI, right? She created a pathway for us that we now have solid, stable careers where we may not have if we had just gone the corporate route.
Yeah, and you also like are gonna help people like spend more time with their families too. Like these businesses, I feel like I think of like I put myself in like a person like a grandpa. He's sitting at the shop still every day and making. He doesn't want to end it, but he doesn't want to sell it. He doesn't know what to do, and you come in and you're just like, no, you can still you're still part of this, but you can go with your family now. You can go travel with your wife to Italy, like that trip you've always wanted to take. Because most entrepreneurs, especially that have had businesses, they don't know how to stop them and what to do with them, and that's going to make a huge impact on a lot of people. With that said, how can people help you get to your goal of reaching 100 leaders and generating that 100 goal? How can people help you get to your goal of 100 businesses?
Sure. So on my website, if you go to summercampventures.com, there is a be an operator. There's also in March 1st, I've got a new site that's coming up with some new branding. But basically on my website, you can invest, you can apply to be an operator in our operator network, and you can also sign up to sell your business.
Yeah, we definitely want to promote that for you. So whatever we can do to help.
Sure.
We'll definitely have the link below for this episode of the website.
It'll be everywhere. I am blown away. I mean, I have so many. I listen to everything you said.
Cool.
There's not a lot.
Thanks.
You need to work on that, Miss Deirdre. There's not a
Deirdre, I want to say something. Just because I don't think you realize when I ask you about your legacy how much of an impact you're really going to have. Because I hear you say this individual person, and I think I really want to reiterate to the audience what you're doing and how it's making me tear up. So I'm sorry, guys.
Good.
I remember in my best year in sales, I made 6 figures, and I was so proud of myself. And that number started with a 1. And what you are providing people, oh my God, this is kind of embarrassing.
No, it's not. I love this.
Me too. It's so real and authentic.
Oh, we are that.
What you're providing people is life-changing money that a lot of them don't even know is obtainable. Smart people. I have 2 master's degrees. I'm a commissioned officer. Had I met you at a very different part of my life would be completely different. And I'm so glad I met you when I did. But thanks. When I tell you it's the people whose businesses you're brokering for the new operator and how you're doing it so intentionally, but you are providing something that once you're able to scale it has unlimited impact. And I've not cried like this on anyone's episode, so this is very, very
no, and you're doing it with love. You're doing it with compassion. You're going in, you're not trying to steer the pot. You're trying to uplift not only just the owners, but the employees, that you're taking inventory and those personal tests on who is going to make this business better. We don't want you to leave. We want to impact you. We want to empower you. We want to make this business more, and giving that equity if possible. I don't know. I just I know.
Thank you both. I will say, making a decision to join Owners Club last year, for me, it was Pace saying to many of us, your Mount Everest isn't big enough. And mine wasn't big enough. And I went back and I made it larger. And once I made it larger, I'm like, oh, this is scary, right? And that's what you want it to be. And then I had some other women leaders in Owners Club tell me, okay, so you're working at a W-2 and you've got equity and, you're AI tech, blah, blah, blah. But you know how to do this other thing. and you're doing it on the side, and yes, you've got a Mount Everest, I get that, that's amazing, but you're being selfish if you're not doing this full time. Right? So I was crying that night. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're right. They're right. You know, there's a saying, words from friends can be trusted.
Absolutely.
Right? They were saying that because they saw greatness. They saw a need, and they saw that I had the solution. And I knew I had the solution.
And you needed to be pushed.
So the fact that it's making you tear up, right, I needed someone to
just be like, look, girl,
tell me candidly.
You need
go
to
for
get
it.
out there and do this, and whatever we can do to help you.
Cry too, Deidre. There can only be one crier.
Now I'm gonna look like a meanie over here.
Says who?
All right.
We never really
change the
talked
world.
about you talked about a lot of automation through your love for AI, and I know we haven't really dug into that. We can maybe touch on that. And so we can stop crying. What automations have you put together today that gives you that leverage over multiple businesses? Like how have you allowed AI to kind of impact your business?
So because I have been using AI since the very beginning, right? Like in business, I'm always trying to stay 10 steps ahead, and I work in the tech space. So I just know the best ways and advise companies on how to use AI in the proper way. A lot of companies, they will use it in the wrong way. You can't build trust and credibility using AI, and some teams are trying to automate the wrong things. Like, go automate workflows, tasks, admin things that will save your sellers so much time.
Maybe we should.
But keep the human things.
Yeah, true. We're going to sit down and I'm going to help brand you. Help you.
Thank you.
I think you're amazing.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thanks for having
We
me.
have a final question, though, for you, Deidre. And if you've watched any episode, you know what's coming. Do you want me to ask it, Kate, or do you want to ask it?
I know. You go for it.
I love asking this question. Deidre, what makes you an REI baddie?
I am an REI baddie because I take massive action, and I'm also strategic about it. I won't move forward if the path isn't clear, right? So you need to be strategic and take action, and both are equally important.
I love that. Skill development with taking action. So you guys heard it here first. Oh my gosh. Deidre, again, for anybody who's watched the episode, Deidre, can you say the name of your website one more time?
Sure. It's summercampventures.com.
What
Perfect.
cute.
We will have it in
summer camp. It's so cute.
It is adorable. But beyond just being adorable, obviously Deidre is doing like insane things with business buying and working with folks. So I'd love it if you guys could write a comment, share something you learned from Deidre today, or tag someone that you're like, dang.
Everyone out here to post 5 things you learned today. Because honestly, today's show was so impacted. If you haven't watched this entire show and you have watched it or you're listening to us right now, you need to write 5 things and connect and go to Deidre's social media, follow her, because I have a feeling that
Deidre, you're like the best kept secret of OC, and we're ready to spread the secret.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and it's been a pleasure spending time with you both.
Well,
awesome. Well, for everyone who hasn't already subscribed, get on it, and we will see you next week. And until then,
stay batty.
Stay batty.